So, hi, welcome to the Capability Challenge. I'm here today speaking with Pascal Mariany, a deep tech expert in the AI space, focusing on learning. And before I do any more, I'd like to hand over to you, Pascal. Maybe you just give a quick introduction of yourself and what you focus on, and maybe just one question to add to that: why?
Yeah, sure thing. I'm Pascal Mariany, and I'm a lecturer for almost 18 years at this moment, and also a entrepreneur. And I have my own companies, in which one is a startup called SIF and I focus with Edu GPT on, not an AI ecosystem that just gives answers, but also thinks together with you. And that's my main focus the last year. And yeah, it's been great. Learned a lot of pilots, a lot of schools now at this moment, and especially not only handing over a AI tool, but that's why I call it the ecosystem. There should also be a AI literacy continuous coming back train to trainer AI literacy training. So I think that's important for a lot of people to learn about AI, how to use it in a meaningful way. So in short, I think human-centered AI and supporting critical thinking. I think that's the way to go for the future. Yeah.
And maybe just on the why, how did you get into this space, this specific focus area that you have?
Yeah.
Was there an event? Was there something that you saw? Was there a trend? What was it that triggered that in you?
Oh my, that goes back to 2022 with ChatGPT being
Hmm.
introduced for the broader audience. And maybe as everybody knows, or if not a fact, within a few days, they hit 1 million users,
Hmm.
and Netflix was working for that amount 3.5 years.
Hmm.
So that's an impact we never heard before. And the event that triggered was that students, so I'm a lecturer in higher education, students from they were using ChatGPT as a answer machine.
Hmm.
So they were generating documents, they were generating emails, they were generating cards they put on Trello, that kind of stuff, without thinking too much about. So the thing they did, they had an assignment to make a website for a customer, a simulated customer, that was the teacher.
Hmm.
And the teacher gave them some criteria to make the nice website. So they interviewed the teacher who played the customer, and they transcribed it, already possible in 2022, but then they put it in ChatGPT and they just made up very quickly the form of the website, the colors, the all kinds of stuff, and also a full plan within 5 minutes.
Hmm.
And they were smart. They were like, "Hey, we can never do this in 5 minutes, so let's wait a few days." And they did. So they handed in this assignment in 5 days, and yeah, they got a good grade. So that's why I thought from, hey, we can do it a different way.
Hmm.
Yep.
So essentially, how do you think AI is going to making us smarter or dumber? I mean,
That's
you're
a
in the
good
learning
question.
space. Is it making us smarter or dumber?
I think you can use AI if you can steer it well, and that's where the AI literacy is coming back into play. It can be an enrichment of your skills. And if you don't have a skill yet, because you can think a lot about skills, which skills, so technical skills, soft skills, communicating, presenting. Um, and I think if you can steer AI together with you as a AI companion, I use that word a lot, without making AI human, it's a sparring partner sitting on
Hmm.
your shoulders, a nice extra pair eyes, and if you conversate, or you can should say you can prompt in a reflective way,
Hmm.
AI can be an empowerment from your set of skills or the skills you need to develop.
Yeah.
So I don't think it makes you dumber. It makes you dumber if you don't think too much about it and you throw everything inside AI and believe the first output straight away.
Yep. Hmm. Now, I mean, if we go further down this path, like if we start using AI in our organizations, in our schools, in our universities, what what does it change about the people and what they have to do, what they should be doing? Like, what are the what are what do you think is then the skills or behaviors or way of working? How does it change the human aspect as we add this automation and AI into all of our workflows?
Yeah. What I've noticed is when students or learners, if they're a bit younger, have access to all those free AI tools like ChatGPT or Gemini or all the big tech, if you try to put in a prompt, a sentence like, write me an essay about Area 51. I am a student, 22 years, and I follow this subject, so give it to me. Then all those tools will just give it to you.
Hmm.
And then you have a nice essay. Okay. So if you keep it that way, it will, I think, dehumanize our conversations because it's very easy to just copy paste your stuff and hand in your assignments. But then again, I need to think about schools and universities are like mostly still built or designed in a traditional way. So we have an exam, we have a product we need to write, and we need to prove it by handing it in inside the learning management system. You get
Hmm.
a grade, like, oh, you have an 8, or you have a or B, I don't know. And then you're done. And maybe that's a bit too black and white or too harsh, I'm saying this. But you see that a lot in all kinds of school levels. So it will a bit dehumanize our contact, I think, if you just leave it that way. But if we redesign our design our curriculum to let AI be part of it in a certain way. And what do
Hmm.
I mean in a certain way? In a Socratic way, in a scaffolding way,
Hmm.
and give the teachers and lecturers the possibility to design very quickly AI companions they can share with their learners and students.
Hmm.
And talk about every 2 weeks, minimal. That's a nice, maybe you know the collaboration forum or method, Agile Scrum. Every
Hmm.
2 weeks, you should have the conversation with your class or with your group of learners and students, or maybe even one-on-one conversations with your learner or students about the usage of AI from their perspective. And just ask for maybe transparency about their chat conversations. And then you can act as a coach and steer by where needed and talk about, take it back as a reflection to the whole class. And then, as a lecturer or teacher, you can talk about your stuff you are now expecting from them for the next upcoming 2 weeks.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And if you
So
do
you're
it in
thinking
that
more
way, yeah,
AI led, teacher supported is and
yeah,
bring the human in for these critical touch points.
really you should do it. And at least once every 2 weeks. But I would say every week, just ask, like at home. Maybe you have kids as well. I have two kids. Sophie is 9 and Thomas is 11. So primary school. Every week, minimal, I try to force myself, and also I'm talking to my wife about it. Hey, let's ask Thomas or Sophia about their AI usage.
Hmm.
And surprisingly, and luckily I asked it, and that happened 3 months ago. Thomas got an assignment. Okay, you need to write a small text about Area 51. That's why I talked about it before,
Yep.
because that's a real life example. So Thomas did that. I got the assignment, and the teacher didn't know, but on the Google Chromebooks, after an update, there was suddenly at the start page Google Gemini asking, "Hey, dear Thomas." Now, it knows its name because Thomas was logged in with his school account. You can ask me everything. And Thomas thought, okay, then I will do it.
Hmm.
Hey, dear Gemini, I have an assignment. I don't want to do it. I don't have time to today. I just want to play with my friends. Write me a small text about Area 51. Use the sources online. And there comes the smart thing of Thomas.
Yep.
Also, I'm a bit proud of that one, but okay. He said, also put in some spelling errors so my teacher won't know.
Yes,
So
of
he printed
course.
it out and he gave it to the teacher, and he got a nice 8 from 1 to 10. So yeah, of course, I put Thomas behind my laptop and I said, Thomas, from now on, you are going behind EduGPT because EduGPT is giving you not all the answers. It will ask you questions.
Yep.
So yeah,
Um, so you're really trying to leverage AI to be the counterpart rather than to be the delivery. But so getting back to the original question, though, a lot of the time we do want AI to deliver. If you think of any organization, even in schools and universities, okay, please check all of these reports that were written and grade the qualitative responses. Here are the rubrics, and you wanted to do that. What does it do to you in that situation, or the human who now who now needs to manage all of this input that it's getting from these automated solutions?
yeah. So who is responsible for all those data points, you mean?
Yeah, and what does it
Yeah.
mean? Like, I mean, you brought in one point. You have responsibility. You
Yeah.
still might have a human in the loop who's responsible. So you
Yeah.
have to think about responsible. What else does this human have to think about? How is their job changed, or how would your job change if you are no longer reviewing the results, no longer giving the lectures,
Yeah.
but meeting with your students once a week
Mhm.
and reviewing the AI analysis of their work that they've done?
Yeah, I won't say like you don't give any lectures anymore or you are not in front of the class. I think that's still valuable. The same counts for all those research papers. You see a spike from 2023, the end of 2023. A lot of higher school, university students were like, "Hey, we can use AI for this." So more research papers got handed in, and you can see a very same pattern with this.
Hmm.
But then still again, I think it's valuable to write a research paper because you can, if you use AI as a companion to write with you, it's very valuable. And then if you can explain it to your teacher, and how do you explain it? Well, just don't hand in only the written stuff, but within your curriculum, the teacher should be responsible to create time to have more interaction with between students, between the learners, between the lecturer or the teacher and the students and learners, to just present parts of your written stuff to an audience more often. But that means that costs extra time. So where do you get the time from? I would say scale down the lecturers like 2 hours, 2.5 hours talk. Why anymore? It's still an issue because we focus so much on giving knowledge with talking, giving examples. But the full internet, the whole internet is full of valuable knowledge. And
Hmm.
even ironically, you can ask AI for certain resources, but then you
Hmm.
should be like, you need to know how to prompt AI to get the stuff you need. And that's
Yep.
a skill as well,
Hmm.
parallel to all those fast yeah, developments. You need to learn it. And if you don't have the skills, AI skills as a teacher or lecturer, it's very difficult to monitor it and to ask the same from the students or learners. And then back to your question about who is responsible for the overview of all those interactions, I think it's both the lecturer teacher and the learner and student. It should be very clear what you expect from your learners and students as a lecturer teacher. And it should be very clear at the start of the school year or the academic year And if that's clear and you have a nice built-in human in the loop in your curriculum where you can talk about stuff and be transparent and proud about your AI usage, then it's not one thing to be afraid anymore and not to be afraid anymore of your yeah your job that will be gone. It won't. I think if you use technology like this powerful AI technology in a meaningful way, an efficient way, there's more time to interact in a human way together. So it's a
So
chance.
I love this. I think you're going in the right in what feels right to me, but I guess everyone has to have their own sentiment.
Sure
Are we
thing.
moving forwards or backwards? Now, a lot of the people that are joining us are actually from the corporate space. You know, like you, they have a job to do. They're seeing these changes, like you've just beautifully described, for the teacher or the professor. You're seeing how these changes are impacting what you need to do, how you interact with your customers, if you will, what work gets done, how,
Hmm.
and certain responsibilities that are still there. If we were to try and push this and generalize this one step further, could you generalize, since you are a deep expert in the space as well, what does that teacher then have to do differently? How do they have to think differently? How do they have to act differently? Is it essentially, can we take the same person, do you think, and just sort of ask them to transform their role? Do they need new skills? Do they need to think in a different way in order to be able to make that switch from
Hmm.
the old school, which was, let's, as you put it, hours of giving demonstrations and examples, maybe followed by a test or a report that they would review. Now you're talking about something which sounds infinitely more complex in some ways,
Hmm.
and very different requirements in other ways. But what are those differences, and how easy do you think that transition is?
Yeah. Well, I need to think back how I developed myself as a teacher, and I'm trying to reflect on it and just try to translate it to other persons. In the Netherlands, um, you can do two things. So you can be, yeah, study for being a teacher lecturer right from the start, which I did.
Hmm.
I started as a physical education teacher. So I finished University of Applied Sciences bachelor degree, and I'm very fond of that education I've followed because as a PE teacher,
Hmm.
you are in front of a lot of different children. The full gym hall is full of kids, and within the physical education, you need to differentiate very quickly, and that gave me a lot of coaching skills.
Hmm.
And I've known myself as a second nature that I think yeah, the motivation skills I think are very high. So with I think my energy translates into the children. I'm very happy with that because I always get a smile when I make the learners or students smile. So, but the second thing is also in the Netherlands. I don't know if it's how it's abroad. We call it in Dutch zij-instromers. And what does it mean? People are like for 20 years in a corporate business, and eventually they think, well, I'm 40 or 50. I want to put my knowledge, I want to give my knowledge to learners or students. So they follow education for 1 or 2 years, and then suddenly they are a teacher. And with all due respect, I think mostly of them, they struggle with class management, with differentiating at the moment. It maybe needs to happen because, yeah, you see a lot of different learners, children, or a lot of different students with different needs, different wishes, different, and so on. So I would say for those who are a bit late in education, it's very nice to follow a extra study maybe about the different education strategies.
Hmm.
So I've learned a lot about scaffolding, guiding, modeling, also learning strategies, and which learning strategies might fit the best with different kind of learners or students. So I think that knowledge is essential to translate this technology, AI, into your curriculum,
Hmm.
into practice. And that's with EduGPT, we are trying to translate for those people, especially also into education, like with 150 use cases. Oh, there's an AI companion for that. There's an AI companion for this. And then with the knowledge clips we make, um, we try to show it. And with the trainings we give, we try to implement it for them because it's a struggle. Yeah.
So, if I understand, so let me just put this in the opposite way.
Yeah.
Um, if you were to, if you're saying if if we abstract this once again, just from learning, if you take someone who has generally good skills in their role,
Yeah.
and we say we're going to actually automate and augment this role significantly with AI,
Mhm.
you don't feel like there's going to be a major shift in what they need to do or how they need to think.
For the
Would
ones
you
who are
would you
more,
agree with that statement or would you disagree with that statement?
you mean the ones, before I answer, you mean the ones who have more experience in education?
In your case, in your specific case, it's education. But if somebody's working in,
Yeah.
as a lawyer, if they have a deeper understanding of the law, and suddenly, they automate a significant and part of their job, they augment a
Ah,
bunch of their work because
yeah.
they have that basic understanding. Do you think they're actually already ready to be able to just take that next step and basically work in that new sort of AI powered environment?
I think you are talking about domain yeah, experience,
So they
right?
have the
Domain
domain
knowledge.
experience, but
Yeah.
is that the most important thing, or what would you say is the critical thing that they need?
Yeah, I think first of all is the domain experience. So the domain knowledge experience. Yeah, because in life you get experience, but firstly you are educated in a certain way. And in the past, you know the taxonomy of Bloom.
I
So
know Bloom's Two Sigma problem, but I don't know which taxonomy you mean.
yeah, it's about in the past we are used to first getting knowledge.
Hmm.
So you have a pyramid about that. So firstly, you have to remember, to understand, and apply, and afterwards you can analyze, evaluate, and create.
Hmm.
And I would love to flip it around with AI because firstly with AI you can create, and then you can evaluate, you can analyze, you can apply, understand, remember.
Hmm.
But the traditional cycle is the remember, understand, apply, analyze, evaluate, create in those or in that order
Okay.
a bit.
Yep. Hmm.
That cycle is mostly a full semester, 20 weeks struggling, or maybe 10 weeks, 10 to 20 weeks struggling, and then an exam, and then you should know it, right? That's the
Hmm. Yep.
traditional education if I take Bloom's taxonomy. But with AI, if you flip it is flipped around because
Yep.
what I've told you, the example in 2022 with ChatGPT, the students were just creating stuff. And yeah, maybe a bit, they missed a bit the evaluation and analyzation because they were like, oh, copy paste, there you go. But if you take the create, you just leave it as is. Okay, dear learners, students, you can create with AI. It's totally normal. We understand we cannot forbid it because it's a never-ending story. Just go ahead. But we as a teacher are responsible to learn stuff to you. So we are going to evaluate it. We are going to analyze it. We are going to apply it. I will tell you stuff to understand it, and then you can remember. So
So
yeah.
this is a fundament. I mean, I love this. This is super powerful. Um, it's a fundamentally different way of creating knowledge and working with knowledge.
Mhm.
One begins with almost rote learning facts, and you slowly build up from there, which can take years
Yep.
on any topic. The other one is to create instantly and to get a direct feeling with what you could do with it all, and then work backwards to the point that you've really deeply understood it, and you've actually even remembered some of the critical things that are relevant specifically for what you are trying to do.
Yes, indeed.
This
And
is this is a very powerful new way of looking at it. Love it.
yeah, and to just add a little point, I talked about the traditional way where you first get the knowledge, understand, till create. Mostly that cycle is a bit bigger. And if you flip it around, you start with creating, evaluating, and analyzing, and going to the knowledge and understanding. You should put it inside a box of 2 weeks, I would say, because AI and you can, because if you use AI the right way, you can be more productive and create more stuff, and even you can understand more stuff. As I
Yep.
see in our journey now for a year with EGGPT, for example, you can see that back. Yeah, and of course we need to validate that with science as we are going to do it in the next year. But yeah, I think that's the way to go. Yeah.
So one final point. I mean, I think what you've sort of described is, AI. In your case, it's not even. It may not even replace jobs in a sense because there'll be just as much to do. The
Mhm.
quality of what comes out can be much better, and you'll
Yeah.
be able to teach maybe more. So, in that sense, it's less about it's less about taking out jobs. It's more about the quantity that you could fit into a year of learning. But
Mhm.
you need to carefully, in your specific case, combine the human and the non-human elements. But
Yeah.
more importantly, we now take this super powerful model of how people learn, and if we flip it on its head, we get what everyone is seeing, that people start by creating, and some people never get to understanding, or and most of us never get to remembering. As soon as
Yeah.
we've created, we've evaluated, do a quick analysis, we apply it to what we want, we understand kind of how it works, and we may remember one or two things, but it does take that maybe that human element, that checking in to make sure that people have actually
Of
fully
course.
understood that.
Of
But this
course.
is,
Yeah.
you're saying you're taking something that took 3 months maybe to learn, and you can now do it in 2 weeks. How do you think this super powerful new way of learning would then, potentially impact what what a human is capable of doing? And will this be then a healthy change for people?
Yeah. I think also thanks to AI, if you use it a bit, I think in the described way, how I see, I think it's not the holy grail. Okay. Of course, it's based on a lot of experience and practical things that happened. But I think thanks to AI, people will also be able to reflect more on their stuff they are learning and doing, and maybe even filling some gaps they didn't know yet, apply it as quick as possible in practice. I think that's an essential thing because you can use AI and also find yourself in a rabbit hole because there's so much information that's coming out of it that you cannot remember stuff. So that's a very,
Absolutely.
very critical part. And I like the word chunking because our memory is also has a certain bandwidth and and that depends on the person, but can handle. It's like a context window of the AI model, right?
Hmm.
So sometimes your own mind is just a cognitive overload. There's a maximum. And you should that depends on how you are grown up. That depends on your genes. That depends how you are and how you feel that day, especially.
Hmm.
And you should recognize that. And that's why I think that's the I'm trying to, as a human being, reflect per day. How was your day? Where are you thankful for? And what did you learn? And the
Hmm.
next day you start fresh. And then you get to know maybe stuff about you that you didn't know you had talent for. And that's the way I see technology as well, because you can learn faster and maybe, yeah, you can get a certain direction you didn't think of, because AI, together with as a learning partner, can give you some more insights.